McDavid goes off against the Capitals. The Blue Jackets put up 8 on one of the top teams in hockey. The Rat King returns for the defending champs and makes an impact. And the Canes and Wings vie for the top record in the East. Details on that and more on this edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before, only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hey, hockey fans, welcome to Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, your teams every day. Thanks for making Locked On NHL Game Night your place to get a recap of the night in the NHL during the regular season and the playoffs. We are available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, an LA Kings fan on the West Coast and the host of Locked On LA Kings. Going solo tonight, and I'm here to help you get caught up on all the goals, saves, big moments, and storylines from the night in the NHL with a big assist from our Locked On local experts. 9 games in the NHL on Saturday, a little bit less than we're used to on Saturday, and I kind of liked it. It's a manageable amount of games to kind of consume as a hockey fan. And I didn't go into the night thinking I was going to start with this game. It was the last game of the night, but it was, I think, so far the best game of the week, an entertaining game, as much as I will try and take my personal feelings out of this towards one of these teams. But the Oilers were hosting the Capitals, and Edmonton pulls out a 6-5 overtime victory. The Oilers would tie it with 32 seconds left. Zach Hyman gets his 20th of the season, a tap in the crease on a Connor McDavid pass. Then McDavid gets a clean breakaway in overtime, and of course, he finishes it off with his 32nd goal of the year. 2 goals on the night for McDavid, 3 assists as well for a 5-point night, and he has now hit 90 points to take over the league scoring lead. 3 points up now on Nathan MacKinnon, and those points on the season, 90. That's the 10th straight season he has scored 90 or more, and the only other player ever to do that, Wayne Gretzky. So needless to say, some pretty elite company for Connor McDavid. Oh, by the way, Evan Bouchard for Edmonton had a hat trick, goals 12, 13, and 14. The first Oilers defenseman in 20 years to get a hat trick. The last guy to do it, Marc-Andre Bergeron in 2006. If you knew that, you know your hockey trivia, because I definitely did not know that. Connor Ingram started this game for the Oilers. He allowed 3 goals on 12 shots, got the hook. Tristan Jarry came in and stabilized things a little bit. He allowed 2 goals on 15 shots to get the win in relief. Washington played hard and well in this game. Alexei Protas gets his 18th. Dylan Strome is 14th. And Connor McMichael scored on a loose puck in the crease with under 5 minutes to play. He had 4 shots at the puck. Tristan Jarry made the first 3 saves. He couldn't make the 4th, and that gave the Capitals a 4-3 lead. But too much time and too much talent for Edmonton. As an LA Kings fan, I have seen this up close and personal in the playoffs the last 4 years, and I've been in the shoes of the Washington Capitals trying to hold on to a lead late in the game, and you've got McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman and Bouchard out there trying to hold them off, and then they get an extra player with the extra attacker, and you're just in your own zone for so long. It seems like an eternity, and finally they score and get the victory. And of course, Connor McDavid taking his game seemingly to another level. Even that's kind of hard to believe, but he was unbelievable in this game, as he is most of the time. Although he had a couple of games in a row where he didn't have a point, but he certainly broke out of that in a big way. Great game, and certainly if you're an Oilers fan, you absolutely love this one. But as an impartial observer, it was very entertaining hockey, to say the least. The Oilers now 26-19-8 on the season. They are 2 points back of Vegas in the race for first in the Pacific Division. For Washington, 25-21-7. They're 5 points out of the final wildcard spot in the East, but just 2 points back of the Islanders for third in the Metro. And they would have loved to have gotten 2 points out of this, but they'll take the one and skate off with a hard-fought but demoralizing defeat. We had the Blue Jackets hosting the Lightning, and Columbus wins a wild one. 8-5 is the final. Let's get some help in talking about this one from our local expert, the host of Locked On Columbus Blue Jackets, Jay Forster.
Blue Jackets played a little bit of a different game to the one in Dallas. They went from a 1-0 win to an 8-5 win. Goaltending optional, I guess, not the finest work we've seen from Jet Greaves, but hey, if you're going to score 8 goals, then most nights you're going to win, right? Hat-trick for Mason Marchand, 3-point night for Adam Fantilli, 3-point night for Charlie Coyle. Zach Werenski ties Cale Makar in the scoring race, but has 3 fewer games played. Norris, that's all I'm saying. This is good, right? Again, would love to see it a little bit cleaner, would love to see a little bit of a lower scoring game, but if the Blue Jackets can win 1-0 games and also win 8-5 games, it's a pretty good sign. They've improved to 5-1 under the Rick Bowness coaching era, and they move on to see what they can do against the LA Kings on Monday. They beat the LA Kings in December on the strength of the power play. Let's see what happens. We're going to break all of this down on Monday's episode of Locked On Blue Jackets.
All right, thanks to Jay Forster for that. And we'll see. I don't think they'll get 8 against my LA Kings, but they won't need to score 8 against the Kings, who have had their issues offensively. If they can get 4, they might be in pretty good shape. But some of the goal scorers in this one for the Blue Jackets, Dmitry Voronkov gets his 17th, Adam Fantilli his 13th. And as Jay mentioned, Mason Marchand, his hat trick, goals 10, 11, and 12. Third career hat trick. He had a goal in each of the 3 periods. He now has 8 goals in 9 games since Columbus acquired him in a trade from Seattle. He had 4 goals in 29 games for the Kraken. And, this is like what they say, he just wasn't a fit in Seattle for whatever reason. Change of scenery maybe will work out. Well, that certainly has been the case for Mason Marchand in Columbus. For the Tampa Bay Lightning, their 15-game point streak comes to an end. They did get a goal from Nikita Kucherov, his 26th, and Jay Gensel, his 23rd, but Jonas Johansson in net had a bit of a tough night. He allowed 6 goals on 29 shots. Tampa Bay now in second place in the Atlantic Division with a 32-14-4 record. For Columbus, they're now 24-20-7. They've won 6 of 7, and as Jay mentioned, now 5-1 since their coaching change. And when they brought in Rick Bowness, they are 4 points out of third place in the Metropolitan Division. We have the Wild hosting the Panthers, and Florida gets a 4-3 overtime victory thanks to the return of the Rat King. And for more on this, we turn to our Locked On local expert, the host of Locked On Florida Panthers, Armando Velez.
The Florida Panthers were mostly in control at 5-on-5 against the Minnesota Wild on Saturday night, but this was a special teams battle between the two teams, and the Panthers survived it, winning by a final score of 4-3 in overtime. And of the 7 goals, only one of them was scored at 5-on-5. 11 power plays combined between the two teams. And although the Panthers did have 2 power play goals, one from Brad Marchand in his return back after missing 7 games, and Sam Bennett after the Wild had a shorthanded goal, the Panthers responded back. The power play still does need a little bit of work as guys are slotting back into their original positions as they were in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But the Panthers were able to survive and able to get the 2 points after really not having the puck in the overtime period. And then it was a quick rush. Carver Hagee sets up Brad Marchand for his second of the night. And now the Panthers are on a little bit of a winning streak and creeping up to that final wild card spot.
All right, thanks to Armando Velez for that. This one not quite as entertaining or as dramatic as the game in Edmonton, but still a really, really entertaining back and forth hockey game as well. And Armando was right. A lot of special teams in this one. Marchand, back from his injury, scored 2 goals, both on the power play, or I should say the first one on the power play. The second one was the overtime game winner for Marchand. Now 25 goals on the season. Sam Reinhart also getting his 25th, also a power play goal. Sam Bennett is 19th, also a power play goal. Minnesota also using the special teams, although Matt Boldy, back from his injury as well, scored a shorthanded goal for his 28th of the year. Kirill Kaprizov also goal number 28 on the season. And of course, his came on the power play as well. But for Florida, now 27-20-3 on the season. They've won 3 of the last 5 games. They are 5 points out of the final wildcard spot in the East. For Minnesota, they are 29-14-10, and they have moved 1 point up on Dallas in the race for second place and home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs in the Central Division. Hurricanes and Red Wings both in action, both battling for the top spot in the Eastern Conference. We'll give you the details on that next here on Locked On NHL Game Night. There is nothing like being near the ice during a hockey game. The speed, the hits, the atmosphere, it's unmatched. Watching a game at home is great, but being in the building is a completely different experience. The only thing that used to get in the way was actually getting tickets. That's why the Gametime app gives the advantage back to the fans. It is the hack for unlocking amazing NHL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. I pull up the Gametime app on my phone, check out the upcoming games for my favorite team, the LA Kings, and I'm surprised how fast I can get great tickets. The app is incredibly easy to use. Browsing, comparing, and buying tickets took just minutes. One of my favorite features is seeing the view from my seat before buying, so you know exactly what you're getting. The zone deals are clutch. You choose a section, Gametime picks the seats, and you save even more. Seeing NHL tickets available for as low as $25 makes it easy to plan a game night. I really like that the fees are included up front, so the price you see is the price you pay. And knowing tickets are backed by the Gametime guarantee gives real peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. We have the Hurricanes in Ottawa taking on the Senators, and Carolina gets a pretty convincing 4-1 victory in this one behind their rookie goalie, Brandon Bussi. Let's get a check on this game from the host of Locked On Carolina Hurricanes, and that is Zach Martin.
The Carolina Hurricanes go 32-15-5 on this season after defeating the Ottawa Senators 4-1. Goals by William Carrier, Seth Jarvis, Andrei Svechnikov, and Taylor Hall led the way. But the big thing was that the PK goes 4 for 4 for the Hurricanes. Power play goes 1 for 4. And how about Brandon Bussi saving 33 of 34 shots for a .971 save percentage? Picks up his 19th win already of his career and gets the first star of the game. You love to see it from him, man. He just keeps continuing to win, and the Hurricanes just, you losing the shootout the other night, you win against Ottawa in a very, very cold environment outside of the arena. But inside the arena, they stay hot. Now it's a 5-game point streak, and now they have a few days off until it's Whalers night next Thursday against the Utah Mammoth. But the Hurricanes 4-1 over the Senators. Hey, you'd love to see it for some Saturday night hockey.
All right, thanks to Zach Martin for that. The Hurricanes jumped out to a 4-0 lead in this one. Ottawa never really was in contention in this one. Seth Jarvis is 23rd of the year. Andrei Svechnikov on the power play gets his 18th. And Brandon Bussi, the rookie goalie, allows 1 goal on 36 shots. He's allowed just 3 goals in his last 3 starts. His record, as you heard Zach talk about, he said he got his 19th win. He's 19-3-1 in 23 games. And Bussi is 1 win away from reaching 20 wins in the fewest games played by a goalie in NHL history. Connor Hellebuck holds the record. He got 20 wins in his first 25 games. Again, Bussi's got 19 in his first 23. So if he can win his next start, he will set that record. What a great rookie season and a great story. Brandon Bussi kind of coming out of nowhere to, who knows, maybe lead the Carolina Hurricanes to a place they haven't been in quite some time. For the Senators, still struggling right now. Tim Stützle did get his 23rd of the year for the only goal of the game, but Ottawa needing points and having a tough time of it as at the moment. For Carolina, 32-15-5 now on the season. They've won 4 of 5, and they are leading the Metropolitan Division with 69 points. For Ottawa, they've lost 4 of 5. Their record now on the season, 23-21-7. We had the Red Wings in Winnipeg to take on the Jets, and just like Carolina, a fairly convincing win for Detroit. 5-1 was the final. Wings allowed the first goal, then scored the next 5. JT Compher, 2 goals, numbers 7 and 8. Alex DeBrincat gets his 27th of the year into an empty net. Lucas Raymond, his 18th. And John Gibson playing good in net for the Red Wings in his first year in Detroit. He allowed 1 goal on 27 shots. He's 21-9-1 now, Gibson, on the season, and he has won his last 8 starts in a row. So getting good goaltending. Obviously, the scoring is there for Detroit as well, playing some of their best hockey of the season right now, it seems. Detroit now 32-16-5 on the year. They've won 4 of 5 and 8 of 10, and they are leading the Atlantic Division with 69 points. So 1 point better than Tampa Bay, and Detroit tied with Carolina for the most points in the Eastern Conference. For Winnipeg, they fall to 20-24-7. Always fun when two of the oldest rivals in the NHL get together, and that, of course, is the Boston Bruins hosting the Montreal Canadiens. This one a spirited affair, as most of these are. And it was Boston scoring the final 2 goals of the game to pull out a 4-3 overtime win. This is a battle of the two teams currently holding the 2 wildcard spots in the Eastern Conference. To help us get more on this game, let's check in with the host of Locked On Boston Bruins, Ian McLaren.
For the first time this season, the Boston Bruins have won a game after trailing heading into the third period. They were down 3-2 in this one to the rival Montreal Canadiens after Cole Caulfield scored a hat-trick through the first 2 periods, but the Bruins erased that in the span of 15 seconds with Fraser Minton getting the equalizer and then Morgan Geekie with his second goal of the game scoring on the power play just 15 seconds later. Nobody was sure the puck went in. Morgan Geekie knew, David Pastrnak knew, it was confirmed, and the Bruins come out with a massive win over the rival Montreal Canadiens, who they're chasing in the Atlantic Division. Morgan Geekie with the 2 goals. Great to see him scoring after going through that month-long drought. And the Bruins, 2 huge points here, taking the season series away from the Montreal Canadiens.
All right, thanks to Ian McLaren for that report. As he mentioned, Fraser Minton and Morgan Geekie, late goals to pull this one out for Geekie. He gets a pair, both on the power play goals, 27 and 28 for him. Boston had 3 power play goals in this victory. Victor Arvidsson had the other one. For the Montreal Canadiens, they got a hat trick from Cole Caulfield, goals 27, 28, and 29. 2 of them were on the power play. That's only the second career hat trick for Cole Caulfield. I would have thought he had a couple more than that. But still a great game for him, but unfortunately not enough as he accounts for all of the Montreal scoring in this one. For the Bruins, they are 30-20-2 now on the season. They have won 8 of 9, and they are holding the number 2 wildcard spot in the East. They are 1 point back of the Montreal Canadiens, who are holding that number 1 wildcard spot. Montreal now 28-17-7 on the season. The Sabres have a red-hot goalie, and the Mammoth are streaking. We'll give you the details on that next here on Locked On NHL Game Night. All right, getting to our final 3 games of the night, and the Sabres go on the road into New York on Long Island and shut out the Islanders by a score of 5-0 behind. Some great net minding from Alex Lyon. His 26 saves helped him record his 9th straight win, and he ties a franchise record for consecutive wins by a Sabres goalie, in addition to getting that shutout as well. Jason Zucker providing some of the offense, a couple of goals for him, numbers 12 and 13 on the season. Tage Thompson gets his 27th of the year to lead Buffalo in goal scoring. The Islanders, first time they have been shut out this season, and it comes to the hands of Alex Lyon and the Buffalo Sabres. But let's get a check on the Islanders side of things from the host of Locked On New York Islanders, and that's Gil Martin.
The New York Islanders fall to the Buffalo Sabres 5-0. Their record in matinees now 2-6-2. This was not a good effort by the New York Islanders, but the game wasn't as one-sided as the score. Islanders gave up 2 goals in the first minute of a period, another goal in the last minute of a period, and they just couldn't finish to save themselves. Alex Lyon, very good in goal for Buffalo. Overall, right now, the Islanders happy to get Bo Horvat back. Definitely missed Ryan Pollock, but this team is having a lot of trouble finishing. They're not doing anything constructive on the power play, and some lineup changes have to be implemented to get this team back on track. Patrick Waugh making some strange lineup decisions and strange line combinations, and then ends up benching Matthew Barzal for the entire third period. Something's got to give. Something's not working right now. For more in-depth daily coverage of your New York Islanders, check out the Locked On Islanders podcast.
And thanks to Gil Martin for that report. Everybody's saying the right things afterwards. Matthew Barzal, of course, being asked by the media about being benched in that game and took responsibility for not playing well, as his entire line did not see the ice late in that game. Patrick Roy saying that you got to hold players accountable, not getting the job done back checking, and that's about effort. And he said he wasn't going to single out one player. He said something about you play well as a line together, and sometimes you have to accept your punishment together as a line as well. So some interesting things going on there. Patrick Roy obviously is a guy that's not afraid to kind of lay down the law there. We'll see how the Islanders respond to that loss and that situation. Buffalo now 29-17-5 on the year. They have points in 19 of their last 22 games, and they are in third place in the Atlantic Division. For the Islanders, 27-19-5. They have lost 3 of their last 4, but still holding on to third place in the Metropolitan Division. But they do have some teams that are getting a little closer in their rearview mirror. We have the Mammoth on the road in Nashville to take on the Predators in Utah, getting a 5-2 win for their 5th win in a row. Utah scoring 3 goals in the second period, 2 more in the third. JJ Peterka gets his 18th of the year. Actually, the puck never went in the net. He got hauled down as he was going in on a scoring chance with the empty net. They awarded him the goal appropriately. So Clayton Keller has been electric over the last week. He gets his 16th of the year. And Kirill Vejmelka allowed 2 goals on 29 shots. And you might be surprised to know that the leading goaltender in the NHL in terms of number of wins, Kirill Vejmelka of the Utah Mammoth, he's got 25 wins on the season. Of course, he's getting a lot of starts. That certainly is part of it. And Utah have been playing some of their best hockey of late here as they try and hold on to one of those wild card spots in the West. For Nashville, Steven Stamkos gets his 25th of the year in a losing effort, but the Predators also one of those teams battling for a wild card spot. Utah improving to 27-20-4. They've won 5 in a row, as I mentioned, and 8 of 9. And right now they are the number 1 wild card team in the West. For Nashville, they dropped to 24-23-4. They've lost 3 of 4. They are 3 points out of the final wild card spot in the West. And last but not least, my LA Kings were in St. Louis to take on the Blues, and the Kings start a 6-game road trip with a much-needed 2 points as they get by St. Louis by a score of 5-4. This was a way that they definitely needed to start this road trip. The Kings have had some trouble scoring goals, so getting 5 or 4 in regulation and 1 in the shootout certainly helped. But this is a Blues team that had played the night before on the road. They haven't had a great season, and the Kings really had to earn this win as St. Louis made things a little bit difficult on them. But a key return for LA, Trevor Moore, back from an injury. He had missed the previous 11 games. He scores a goal in regulation and also gets the game-winning goal in the shootout. So a nice welcome back for the Kings, Trevor Moore, in that one. For St. Louis in the loss, Jordan Kyrou scored a pair of goals, numbers 10 and 11. He scored with the extra attacker late to tie it up and then send the game beyond regulation, a place where the St. Louis Blues have not been very good this season. Matter of fact, St. Louis is 1-9 on the year in games that go into a shootout. For the Kings, they improved to 21-16-13. That was their 32nd 1-goal game of the season. They've also played in 21 games that have gone beyond regulation. The Kings right now are tied with San Jose for the final wildcard spot in the West. Sharks hold the tiebreaker at the moment, so the Kings right now are the first team on the outside looking in at a playoff spot in the West. For St. Louis, they dropped to 19-24-9, and they are still trying to battle and trying to put wins together to try and stay within distance of one of those wildcard spots in the West. All right, so there it was, the 9 games in the NHL on Saturday. If you want complete coverage, your favorite NHL team, find the Locked On NHL Team podcast and YouTube show for your squad. As for Locked On NHL Game Night, we are here each and every night covering every game until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. That'll do it for this episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day.